Because they have smoked up, they are running right towards each other, but it is the standard just warding mission here for the mid lane. See if we can get a level 1 team fight to break out between these two. Seems like the goons are probably more happy to kind of go for that team fight than say Ravens are. At the very least, they are prepped for it. They might find somebody too, because Wake Me Up's running right towards them, but does decide better of it. Gets a nice D ward off as the Mirana. Has held on to a skill point in case he needs to leave charges anyway. So it seems like he's going to be just fine. And a quick tip out for Esk, just for good measure.
Someone called the doctor?
Kind of break off now. Just gonna look through runes. No big engagement. I feel like a big engagement for Ravens if they get the level 1 paralyzing cast could have been nice. Maybe they could find a little bit of punishment in Lil Nick at least. Not quite.
Yeah, Lil Nick's gonna be just fine. May as well start off as usual with the mid lane. Of course, you're gonna have Esk there on the mid Void Spirit against the mid Ember. So one of these more even matchup, I'd argue, here with the Void Spirits. But we do see a lot of Ember versus Void Spirit at the moment, so people seem to love prioritizing the Ember pickup against this hero. But how do you think this matchup should go here, John?
It's fairly even. A little bit easier for Ember with some initial itemization, but it's back and forth in that Esk can't melt through your Flame Guard, and his Resonant Pulse Shield will impact RL's harassment. To be fair, the uptime of Sleight of Fist is a little bit better than Resonant Pulse, so by level 3, RL should be able to harass back fairly well. I think for this one, it's down to whether or not Esk can land a Remnant and get a couple of extra right clicks to harass out RL. Otherwise, the Ember does start to pull away, especially once the Blightstone comes in. But for now, Esk is doing a pretty fantastic job of at least wasting some resources from RL. Not one-sided at all for either side.
Oh, top lane, first blood already drawn. Wake Me Up going down here to Pingus here on the Disruptor. So already a fantastic start for the side of the American Goons as, well, they lose their Mirana on Ravens.
It's a little bit more surprising. Wake Me Up did opt to level up Starstorm. So if you are chased down with the initial Meld plus the Glimpse out from Pingus, that is a lot of output from Boris. I think he will have to respect that. The Mirana needs a little bit of that escape potential here. With the Leap, that is still giving Italian a Gangster a pretty decent lane. This is not going to be the hardest lane for Boris, to be fair. It is up against a melee matchup, so you can kind of line up your side blades pretty nicely once that's up. Once you hit, say, level 4, the TA is going to be really stable. So you can't really stop this from Italiano. But as long as you ride through the lane fine, you should be pretty alright.
Oh, Wake Me Up's in trouble again. Static Storm, or rather Kinetic Field, going to hold him down. Wake Me Up going to go bye-bye once again, Jonathan. That's going to be a walk of shame back for the Mirana. Even worse is Italiano Gangster ended up losing his Wraith Band on the Courier. So you kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone here as Pingas. In this top lane, I mean, Boris is going to have the freest lane of his life at this stage.
This is the one thing you don't want to give out here on Ravens. The TA, again, a pretty stable hero. It doesn't feel like it's the best in terms of bursting down certain characters in this match, but giving him a strong start like this into the Dragonlance Desolator is going to be a little bit scary. Still taking a look down bot, the last lane we haven't really talked about here, Mike. Lil Nick on the Doom, Giant on the Rubik, up against Kara on the Witch Doctor, and Argus on that Morphling, and this is a pretty damn stable lane for the Morph. You can't really easily zone him out as the Doom. You can't really do too much on the Rubik either to kind of set up for kills. Once Attribute Shift is up to level 2 as well, that's kind of an impossibility. You can farm up at the very least on Lil Nick. You can just devour and focus in on that farm. Lil Nick does have the prospecting aura as well, so hey, free 20 GPM for him and the Rubik. That's nice.
Oh, he does too. There you go. I mean, it's a pretty silly amount of gold, to be fair, but why not, right? Like, you know, I guess at this stage of the game, like during the laning stage, it's not the worst passive to have, you know? It's like a poor man's Philosopher's Stone, like a really poor man's Philosopher's Stone as top lane. Wake Me Up for the 3rd time is going to go down. This is almost 4 minutes in, John. Not even 4 minutes. He's almost died 1 time per minute.
Yeah, he's not having a good time with the Marana. Again, maybe just
He's
down
still
to that
level
level
1.
1 Starstorm. Yeah, it's stuck there. Without the leap, you're just kind of sitting duck here. Pingu's doing a fantastic job of isolating that Marana. I mean, the Italiano Gangstar, to be fair, is still finding decent farm, but certainly having your support kind of bleed out like this is not helping the cause, giving a lot out to the side of goons. Let's see, level 2 up, Pounce up, so surely Wake Me Up doesn't die the same way. Let's see that,
I mean,
but-
he's got the leap, but Blood Grenade's going to land. Wake Me Up still being chased down, but they won't have the glimpse any longer, so he is going to survive. Happily for the Marana, he's still going to be here instead of making another walk of shame back, though I hope I haven't jinxed him as he's being chased. Glimpse is now available, so Pingus could go for that if you do see Wake Me Up overextend another time. It seems like Wake Me Up actually just going to stack the triangle. I imagine an Italiano gangster just told him to leave the lane at this point. Just get out of here. Stack the jungle, sir. Catch up later, you'll be right. And he's maybe going to go mid lane. The problem is he doesn't have an arrow, so it's not like you can really hope to land a nice arrow on Esk. You can't really do anything as his pos for Marana at the moment, so it's back to the top lane. Meanwhile, Lil Nick should be dead, but he won't be. He's all right. Survives on 20 HP.
More than happy, and he's getting a lot of value from that prospecting aura, Mike. Not being punished for that greed, he's just able to farm up.
Top lane again. More aggression coming out. Italiano Gangster going to try and go after Pingus instead of trying to escape, and he will drop. I'm surprised he didn't go south with the skewer. Actually deciding to try and go after the disruptor. There was no glimpse available, so if he went south, he may have actually just made it.
Yeah, maybe hoping that Wake Me Up would maybe get enough damage with the Starstorm out. Doesn't really pan out that way. And again, the off lane for Ravens is the real big hurting point, because everything else is pretty fine in terms of creep score here. Like, you're having a really decent lane for RRL up against Esk. Level 6s are up, so neither side has major kill threat, but he's managed to harass out Esk on the Void Spirit nicely. You're having this very stable lane coming out for Argus as he drops low, tries to reach in up.
Akara just casually shows up into the mid lane. Wake Me Up, meanwhile. Top lane again, going to be okay. Pingus getting... Oh, he's been brought back into the Marana. Italiano Gangster handing Pingus another kill, and Pingus is running. Oh, he's all right. Wake Me Up, poor guy. Had to die a 4th time for this.
Yeah, you know, I feel like there's very different modes for Wake Me Up, Mike. There's Wake Me Up when September ends. There's Wake Me Up inside. This is definitely more of a Wake Me Up inside moment for Wake Me Up. He's suffering, Mike. He's suffering.
I mean, I think even Evanescence would be blushing here, Jonathan. I think even she would be blushing. This is a real poor start here for Wake Me Up. Not that I blame him for that last death, to be fair. It's the kind of death where you immediately unmute your position 3 and start talking some crap, John, I'll tell you. I would not be too happy if I was that Marana that time. Still, in 0 to 5, the way of the American Goons, they have not come to play around today. It's even mid lane. There was a little bit of a group up here. Pingus was showing up on the Disruptor, but I don't think he can really deal with RRL at the moment, so RRL going to go for a bit of a reset anyway. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Lil Nick going to be chased a little bit by Kara. It's only a level 1 Melodic though, so Lil Nick is going to be just fine to passively heal up with the Vanguard he's got. The one saving grace right now for Ravens is the fact that their mid-Ember is having a pretty good time. The RRL, top of the CS board right now, is being jumped, but does get away and is not going to go down. Seems like RRL is probably going to have a lot of work on his hands this game.
Yeah, he's got to be the launching point now for the side of Ravens. 0 to 5 start. It looks pretty damn bad, but again, I feel like you're okay with this just because Argus and RRL are having a decent enough time. You can always fall back and farm up the stacks you've built up here to kind of recover on any of your cores. So it's not the worst thing in the world, especially since you did manage to go for level 3 Empower here on Italiano, going for the 1-3-1 on that mag. And they are getting a lot of pressure on mid.
Yeah, Kara is going to die for this. RRL forced to try and fight it out, but does Remnant towards the south. Glimpse is going to be there, but he's got another Remnant to play with. He's okay. And mid-tier 1 tower, though, is not really okay. It's 68 HP from just dropping. So they might just go ahead and deny it off now, or they might just hold it for the TP point. Seems like Esk does not want that, so he'll just deny it off.
Middle tower has been denied.
So at least you get the mid-tier 1 tower here as Ravens. Again, the Ember's been doing some very good work. Very important RRL keeps this up, though. Now with the tier 1 gone, he probably could start rotating and try to get some kills in the side lanes, but at least for now, he's going to take some time to farm up. I mean, why not?
Take the time to build up a little bit more. Did manage to clear the stacks here on Italiano, so if you look at the net worth difference, it's not that bad for a mag considering this lane. The one outlier is really just Boris with all these kills. Like, it is a concern to have him go 203 with the Dragonlance power treads up sub 10 minutes, going to the Deso. That's going to be really quick timing on the TA. It is the one here that you will struggle to kind of hold down until you've got more items up. Collapse onto mid.
Arcane Rune picked up here by Giant.
Ooh.
A nice static storm here from Pingus holding down the Ember, but can they hold him down long enough? The answer is no, they cannot, but a nice Aether Remnant gonna land still. RRL does get Giant, and it seems like Pingus will also go down. Double pick up here for the side of Ravens. 2 kills now on the board.
Radiant's top tower is
That's kind of what seems to need to happen, right? Like, just get with your supports as the mid-Ember and start making these rotations. Obviously, it was a big dive into the power runes here, so that's kind of why that happened in the first place, but does seem like with these supports around you, you can make some big plays happen, as RRL was thinking about going after Esk, but he will Astral Step away.
Plays it a little bit safe here on Esk. He'll get a bottle top up on Giants. Respawn. I have to say, those kills in lane kind of cost us Pingus. You know, it's a big streak to give out to RRL. Again, farm distribution's rather even across the board between both sides. Only Boris being the outlier. And we'll see if Ravens can start to apply some pressure onto that TA. And Mike, he's only one part away from a Deso with Dragonlance power treads. That's insane timing.
Yeah, he's huge. I mean, he's 1.3k ahead of his own Doom, which is, not something you see too often here, but that's where we are for the American Goons. Boris is having such a fantastic time as... this is why I really had no doubts when I saw his TA come out. I was like, oh, I've seen this guy's TA. He certainly knows what he's doing. And that desolated timing is, I think, something even Ravens, after that poor offlane start, aren't going to be quite expecting here. I'm not sure if he really gets involved once the Deso's up. Like, you might still just opt to go for the BKB first before you get involved. You could go for things like Roshan, though, to be fair. You could just sneak a quick Roshan as bottom lane. Argus. He's going to survive. They couldn't hold him in the static storm long enough. He's just fine.
They did hold him in. It's just that he managed to get the attribute shift off. Rather unfortunate, not quite enough DPS coming out from Esk just yet to find that kill. As they have the right idea to apply pressure on the morph, but the hero is pretty hard to lock in until you get some jump. They're still watching Boris up top here, but they're not seeing a good angle to kind of come in. Echo Saber done on Italiano, but needs a harpoon to kind of gap close, and Boris is just fine to, again, just go back farming. Because Deso is going to be online. You mentioned having Boris hang back and farm. I think with a TA nowadays, it actually feels like you want to join in. As Argus again.
Bottom lane. Picks around here, bottom. Little Nick looking for a Doom attempt perhaps, but Argus already got the strength morph off. It's pretty hard to land the Doom if you don't get some disable onto the Morphling first. Little Nick will not bother wasting his spell. Meanwhile, top lane, the tier 1 tower does end up going down, so Italian Gangster able to get that done with the rest of his supports. They're trying to hunt down Boris, but Boris is being very, very careful, understanding how good his timing is going right now. Really doesn't want to get caught out. Does have the Deso and 2 gold, so that's huge. It's on the way now. He's still ahead of the Magnus here, Italian Gangster. Doing a really good job of like catching up on the Mag considering his laning stage, but still behind the TA.
Yeah. It's just free farm, basically, for Boris still. Pretty much uncontested. I have to say, I admire that Lil Nick's been able to stick to the prospecting aura for this long. Like, he still has it. It's still just 20 GPM. It's like...
Yes, yes it is. That's 20 good GPM, Jonathan. It's not fake money. That is 20 gold per minute that he's getting. I mean, why not, right? Like, if you're going to play a slow game with this Doom, and I feel like every time we see Lil Nick, he just spends a long time farming. Why not just have the extra gold, you know? I don't see the problem.
That's true. I just wish it leveled up. You know, at least get 25 perhaps, or 30.
Top lane.
Perhaps 40
Boris is being
GPM.
jumped here top lane, John. It's a big wraparound, but he's hanging by the tier 2 tower. Though I say that, he's running right into Ravens now. He needs help ASAP. Boris is going to be forced to try and fight back, but they've got the control for him. Lil Nick at least going to move in to take down RRL. Now Kara also going to drop. At least Wake Me Up is able to get himself out. But that was a pretty important kill. Like, you gave up a lot for that, but you do finally pick off Boris.
Yeah, that's a big one. Costly one. I don't think the side of the goons will mind too much, considering that you didn't actually get that much for the Boris kill for some reason. Like, he's still worth a hefty chunk of gold, but it's not as much as you'd expect. Or RRL, it's worth almost as much in terms of how much you trade in net worth there. So overall, Goon's still sort of happy about that. But again, that's the kill we've been talking about, was necessary. That's the kill that needed to come out. And Boris just going to be held off a little bit. They see him with the Deso now. They know how big of a threat that TA is going to be. Mid, RRL playing
mid
tag.
lane. RRL didn't realize the Static Storm was going to be there from Pingus and will go down. Argus trying to at least trade. Should eventually find the Disruptor as an RP.
Ooh.
Comes out. Italian a gangster. Holding down two. Lil Nick now looking for an escape route, but cannot find one. 3 down for the price of 1. Ravens just rushing down American Goons. Now, I mean, considering the fact that like they were so far ahead on the dire end of things, I'm very surprised that Ravens are still able to be this aggressive.
And to be fair, again, I don't think the net worth was too different between the Goons and Ravens. At peak, I think it was maybe a 2k lead up on the side of Goons, and that's down to very, very incremental leads on each core-to-core matchup. And the outliers were pretty much just Boris and Lil Nick, but you expect the Doom to have as much gold as he does, especially when Lil Nick, he was hanging on to that prospecting aura, has the Midas, he has the Devour. You'd expect that Doom to be up there. The TA really was the outlier, but beyond that, it's been pretty competitive from the side of Ravens in keeping up. And now you've got Italiano up on number 1. He's got the full Harpoon up, Blink only 100 gold off. The side of the Goons setting up for Roshan, and we'll get right into it with that Deso and Boris. Would not take too long, but the side of Ravens should know what's happening. Arrow to scout out. Maybe they managed to make something happen here.
We'll know about it now. Giants trying to get some vision down. They'll see the Mirana. American Goods immediately trying to punish us. Now Kara's going to show up, but they're both under vision at the moment as they will see the Obs Ward. Kara, though, not being jumped at the moment. S does eventually go in, but now the backup is here. Death Ward immediately popped. The Italian gangster moving on to Boris now. Boris! Oh, he's gone! Oh, boy. They lose S to boot. This is a really unfortunate game for American Goons because the way they've played this, John, it's really not paying off.
No. Again, I appreciate how much Boris has done in lane. I appreciate that he's managed to find a lot of punishment. This is not a straightforward TA game. Despite the fact that, again, you don't have a lot of DOTs outside of, say, Flame Guard and your Voodoo Restoration here. But it's also not a game where, as a TA, you can just burst down a lot of heroes. Especially without setup. Like, if you're up front like this, you're not waiting for setup from Pingus to lock them down. But a kinetic field, they can dance around you. And they can also start to itemize to just prevent being physically bursted. Big win from the side of Ravens, stealing away to Roshan themselves. They've got the Lincoln's Prick Argus, so he's more than willing to show up now on the Morph. The one big spell he's worried about here is that Doom for Lil Nick. And, well, with the Lincoln's up, it's going to be a little bit harder for Lil Nick to find that targeted spell. Ravens, 2k lead up now for themselves. They didn't have RP in the last fight either. It was still on cooldown. Italian has it now. So they could take an even bigger fight if they wished here.
Well, they certainly could. Things are looking very, very tough now for the American goons. Mid lane, they are having a look at it for another gank here. Looking at Giant mid lane. The Rubik going to get caught out, but no. Nice sleep away from Giant. Always seems to have the right spell on hand.
Bottom tower is under attack.
Top lane in the meantime, Leonic trying to defend the top tier 2 tower, but it seems like Argus is going to get started.
Dire's top tower.
Not really too much the Doom can do at the moment.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's structures are
That top tier 2 tower really is just not going to last very long. And it's gone. Like, there's just no defense. They're trying to push the bottom tier 2 and they will get it.
tower is under attack.
TPs are incoming though. It seems like Ravens want to try and fight. No chains out from RRL though, so nobody gets held down, and well, eventually American Goons at least force the defense from Ravens. Mid lane, oh, Giant. A weird remnant here from RRL, but it looks like he does get Pingus in the end. Yes, he did move into the mid lane, but can't really do much.
Quite a lot they can do. At very least, they can find the bot tower here from Ravens from taking that kill on Pingus. You remove the Disruptor, you remove Static Storm. You basically remove a lot of the team fight on the side of the American Goons right now. And that is the big concern here. I think when it just comes down to team fight, you are so reliant on Static Storm and Kinetic Field. And there's a lot of backline jump from the side of Ravens to just remove that. Even if you land that Static Storm, as long as, say, Argus in particular manages to get the attribute shift off, it doesn't feel like it's enough. Like, this is just not a very simple game for you to execute as 5 here. Tormentor going to be stolen away, right, in the nick of time here as well. On the side of Ravens, they get a freebie for Wake Me Up. So he's got the nice farts coming out when he leaps. I do not know lore-wise why that happens. There's some things that we are better off without knowing, Mike.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
4K advantage now here for Ravens. I wonder what American Goons would have to say about themselves after this. If they lost this game, like, I wonder what you'd kind of say to yourselves here, because it's just, you know, all the TA timings they had. I mean, Little Nick was farming very well on the Doom, but just, you know, obviously it has not paid off right now. Ravens are looking at the mid-tier 2 tower. Argus will move in.
Middle tower is under attack.
For now, it's just going undefended.
Again, just gone.
Dire's middle tower.
Yeah,
All tier 2 is just
No
gone
contest.
like that. No contestation. I think if you're the side of Goons after this kind of start, your main issue really is the fact that I don't think you have enough team fight. You need to play pick-off with this kind of lineup, and with the advantage, they didn't really look for pick-offs. You know, they went for Roshan, they got punished right in that pit,
Radiant's top tower.
and from there it just falls apart. You really need to nail in the Static Storm usage for the Kinetic Field and get a good Goom target out for Little Nick. He needs to blink up ASAP. Once you can find that, it starts to feel a little bit better here. One component of BKB killed off in the Courier of Boris. So a little bit stalled out in that, but the full gold still a ways off anyway. You don't mind that too much. I think what's really given Ravens this kind of opening is this really good ward vision they had. Like, they kept track of top, and it was all down to that first kill on Boris. Like, sure, they had to sacrifice RRL, they had to sacrifice Kara, but that kill started to give them the openings. And it just slowed down the TA. It forced the side of the Goons to feel like, all right, we're going to need Aegis now. We need to play with its advantage. And that pressure just kind of got to them.
Oh, the bot jungle. Ravens are going to be moving in. A nice Static Storm to hold them back here from Pingus. Meanwhile, Nil Nick, though, never got to the low ground to try and escape, so he's in pretty big trouble. He'll try for the BKB, but the RP's there. BKB TP is not going to work out. Of course, the Italian gangster has no hesitation with the RP, to say the least. At least Giant did get skewer for himself on the Rubik, so you have some high ground defensive play with that, but the Ravens are just showing no signs of slowing down. The Morphling now from Argus, the highest net worth on the map, and they are just looking so dominant. RL's going to jump in again.
Oh.
Chains out. No follow-up to the chains yet. The arrow was extremely late here from Almirana. I'm pretty sure Wake Me Up was out of range, which is why it came out so slowly. And still, I mean, Ravens, they don't need the kills. They just control the map, get the farm going, and they know they have the better scaling draft anyway.
Yeah, it's tricky for the goons. I mean, Skewer is probably one of the better spells Giant can steal. He does have the maxed out Arcane Supremacy, so he has quite the range in getting the Blink Skewer back. The issue is finding the right hero to skewer back. Because the Ember is highly mobile, the Morphling's highly mobile, the Magnus perhaps arguably could still be punished if you skewer him in. But again, it does feel like you kind of lack hard lockdown here from the side of the American goons. Like, you drop Static Storm, if you don't get the follow-up, everything falls apart from there. You've got the Blink ready on Lil Nick, but you have another Lincoln's up on Italiano. So again, not the easiest game to get that Doom off, but they'll go hunting here.
They shall. Down towards the bottom lane, the American goons.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
A bit of a gander around here. It's going to be a very nice scan, though, from Raven, so they are going to know that this is happening. The American goons not exactly going to get anything out of this, sadly. Pretty unfortunate for them. Like, every attempt they make just never pans out in this game one. You got to give big props here to the side of Ravens, just not giving them the openings they've been looking for at all. It's bottom lane Ravens, they'll just start the push. Like, there's nothing to really stop them from doing this. Just having a fantastic game.
A tool to teach.
Mind you, their only objective now is really Roshan into high ground, and Roshan's still 20 seconds away from even telling us when it's going to respawn. So they could try for high ground a little bit earlier if they want to, but we never see any team really doing that in this current patch. Everyone's waiting for Roshan, which has been that way for quite a while, though. As I say that, John, I may have just jinxed it because Ravens are moving up. But a big team fight could help them go high ground, and they might just find that now because there is vision on that high ground, seeing the Rubik. Giant immediately just getting deleted. They just did not realize there was vision on the high ground. So one down will allow them to go high ground now. Argus, he'll make very short work of this tier 3 tower by himself. You do have the Doom up, but it's very hard to land it with the Lincoln Sphere and Argus. They've got double Lincolns to make matters worse, so you've got... In fact, they've got triple Lincolns to make matters worse.
Yeah. They know.
Jump in, Lil Nick, he'll break one at the very least. Now they've got the Morphling held down. Argus, he's gone. Not reacting quick enough. No Doom even required. And that's why you wait for Roshan, kids.
That is, Mikey, that is. They get punished. They do manage to find a tier 3, so it's not the worst scenario here for the side of Ravens, but a pretty big
It's an early
pickup.
Roshan. It's an early Roshan, John. That's the worst part.
Yeah. That's going to be a little bit painful. Boris can try to clear it out himself. And with double meld, this shouldn't be too difficult. The side of Ravens can contest, I will say. Italiano can still run up and try to make something happen here. They don't have a scan, so they don't have a way of just checking Roche for free. Perhaps Wake Me Up comes in with the arrow, but Roche will fall. Solo, though, it's not the quickest. So there is still room for punishment. They are starting to drag the heroes up, but backup is coming for the goons. So they find an opening off the back of that. A really nice win coming out for the goons to even out the game a little bit more here.
Ravens, do they even realize this is happening? Like, they're coming. It's just very, very slow. Pinga's going to see Wake Me Up, forcing the leaps in the Moonlight Shadow, and Roshan is just gone. I think Raven's probably a little bit annoyed about the fact that the Roshan came so quickly. Realizing they probably could have gone for it. And now they will not be able to get away with it. So Roshan very freely being given the way of the American goons. Not really sure exactly how much it's going to change, but it's definitely a good start here for the American goons. Like, had they given that Roshan away, or had it been going the way of Ravens, then you would have been in pretty dire straits, but At least for now, they will get away with that, which will buy them more time to try and find a way back into the game. So you do have that going for you. It would have been pretty much GG had you not got the Aegis.
Pretty much. Like, that's your high ground just set to melt if the side of Ravens found it. They're trying to get an aggressive play out with the smoke, so they might be able to ambush more here. Mid defense still, mid tier 1 still stands. It's hard to find more objectives.
Mid lane, Argus, Skadi up now, but the Static Storm is dropped. Still, they cannot hold him within that Static Storm. Lil Nick trying to get in for a Doom attempt. They've got Pingus down though. The Disruptor is gone. Lil Nick trying to run with the BKB, but Ariel's right behind him and Lil Nick is down. It's a nice attempt, but there's a bit too much hesitation with all these Lincolns coming out. Like, you aren't seeing the Lincolns being broken on Argus, so he can just do whatever the hell he wants.
It's so tricky. Like, they managed to get the good angle in. They couldn't entrap with kinetic field. And that's more than enough for Argus to just run off. And even if the Lincolns got popped by the glimpse, I mean, you're too far away into Doom. So with just that one kill, high ground still siege. They're the ones without Aegis on Ravens. They'll still go for it.
Yeah, so I mean, why the hell not? Ravens. We'll just keep going. Top racks to be secured. Even without the Aegis up, they just know how powerful they are right now. Esk will make a quick jump in. Won't really help though, as now Italiano Gangster looking for the Harpoon skewer back. Won't get it, but still sets up a kill here as he does need to back off. Boris trying his best to get something done. Will move back in onto the Morphling, but Argus is just tanking through all the damage, and Esk is the one in danger. He'll eat the cheese, he'll be able to retreat, but Lil Nick is going to go down as now another skewer back from the Gangster is going to find Pingus. And Ravens, they're not done. Who needs Roshan, they say?
Yeah, they don't. As long as Argus isn't doomed up and he isn't melting in that Static Storm, you can't handle this. You don't have enough. Like, it's not the comfiest game for a TA. There's just so much control to worry about. And no one to melt. Look at that. Boris comes in with a melt. It doesn't even tickle the Mirana that much.
Yeah, I mean, there goes Giant. Buyback is here from Giant. They've got to try and defend this final lane of barracks, but it is not lasting very long, and Argus is taking 0 damage at the moment.
Call?
Wait for me, and GG is called. Yeah, I mean, they've had enough. They realize how far behind they are right now, and they're literally still holding on to the Aegis as it finally does go down here for the TA. But that is just the story of the game.